everyone. Today we're going to do two things. The first thing we're going to do is create a value scale using cross-hatching. And then the second thing we're going to do is use our cross-hatching skills to create a realistic drawing of Celeste. So this is all going to be in our sketchbooks. But the first thing we need to do is learn what cross-hatching is. Well, cross-hatching, as you can see in my value scale in my sketchbook, is a technique of shading in which you use small lines or hatch marks to create value. So to get a darker value, you would do more lines closer together, and to get a lighter value, you would do less lines farther apart. Before you attempt to draw Celeste, it would be a good idea to practice creating a cross-hatching value scale in your sketchbook. So to do that, you draw a rectangle. And so one end is going to be dark and one end is going to be light. The idea is to get it to fade from dark to light. So on the dark side, you'll push harder and you'll have more lines that are closer together. As you get to the middle, you're going to start separating your lines a little bit more. And as you get to the end, you'll leave this blank. So I've done vertical lines. Now I'm going to do horizontal lines, and then I can go back and do diagonal lines as well. When you feel comfortable with cross-hatching and you're ready to draw Celeste, start with the basic shapes. So, for instance, her leg here, I see a circle. Her head, to me, looks kind of like a triangle. And then I'll just connect that circle and triangle with some curved lines. So we'll start with that, and then we can start adding details. So I'm going to start with a circle. I'm pushing really softly because I want my cross-hatching to be able to cover up my basic shapes. And then the triangle for her head is above the circle and over to the right. You want to make sure the positioning is correct as well. So I'm going to go above and over to the right. And my triangle for her head, it's not going to have pointy corners. It's going to have rounded corners. Okay. Then all I need to do is connect those two shapes with some curved lines. So she's kind of hunched over here. So we'll draw a curved line going to the back of her head and then a curved line coming from the front of her head. Then for her ears, they're just arch lines. So I've got a bigger one for the ear that's closer to us, and then a smaller one for the ear on the other side of her head. Her eye will be an oval. And then her tail is just a wiggly line. Then I really just need to draw her front legs and her back legs. So you can't see all of her toes. So you need to look carefully and see which toes are visible. So I can really only see a couple of lines here. So I'm going to draw a line coming from her belly that goes out and down, out and down, out and down. Then her back legs, I can see 1 toe, 2, 3, and 4. So they're kind of just like diagonal lines that come out from her legs. So I'm going to start with the one that's closest to us. And then the next one is sitting behind that one a little bit. And then we've got her other foot. Okay, before I start adding really specific details, I need to do my cross hatching. So I start with the darkest areas first. The darkest areas will be her back, the shadow on her hip, her pupil, and kind of underneath her ear, at the bottom of her ear. So I'll start with those. Next, I'm going to do the lighter areas that aren't the lightest areas. So they're not super light, they're not super dark. That's most of her body. So I'm going to be filling most of her body in. The fur goes around her eye, into her face, but we're going to leave the right side of her, or the front side of her, blank. That way, that is the lightest side. So we are filling in the main part of her hip, her side, most of her face, and her ears. Okay, now I'm going to start darkening in some of these outlines here. So for her ears, I'll just trace over the outline, and then I'm going to add the inside line for her ear. Trace the outline for that ear. Now for her pupil, I forgot to mention this. I left a tiny circle of her pupil white, so it makes her pupil look like it's shiny. I'm also, if you look closely, you can see they shaded in the white part of her eye. You might not think to do that, but that helps make her eyeball look like it's a sphere, look like it's round. So we're going to add a little bit of really soft cross hatching, even on the white part of her eye. We'll give her a few eyelashes. We're going to darken in her nose, which, if you'll look, it's a V shape. Darken that in. Darken in the front of her face. She's got like a little, it looks like her mouth is open just a little bit. And darken in the outline all the way down her belly to her arms. You can do a little shading in there. I'm also going to give her some whiskers. So the way that I do whiskers to make them look realistic is I push hard at the beginning, and as I pull my pencil down in a curved line, I really quickly let off the pressure. So I push hard in the beginning, and then as I pull my pencil, I let off the pressure. Okay, I'm gonna do some shading on her tail, just cross-hatching, so I'm pushing harder and filling in with more lines at the base of her tail, and then less, softer, 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 all the way to the edge. And then I'm also going to do some curved lines to show the roundness of her tail. And there you have it. That is Celeste.